Hey everyone, Oliver here with another video. Today we're talking Lumion. What do I think about it? Is it worth using as your main render software? And what's new about the new Lumion 11? Alright everyone, welcome to Upstairs, a platform that talks about architecture representation and visualization. Now, never before I really thought about bringing Lumion into this channel, simply because I didn't believe in this program to create my images. We all know what that Lumion style looks like, right? But since the last version, and especially now with this newer one, I can say that I've opened my mind and I'm really considering using as part of my workflow. Now, before we jump into it, I'll have to say that this video is not sponsored by Lumion. I've just reached out a couple of months ago and they sent me a license key to test it out, okay? So I'm gonna be plain and open here about my thoughts throughout the whole video. Also, this video is supposed to start a conversation about whether or not Lumion is a good render option, not only in the ArcViz world, but as part of our architecture practice. So I'd love to hear your feedbacks over the comment section. And as you know, I answer all the comments in the first week or so we can continue talking over there. Now here's what we're going to talk about today. You can see the timestamps over the video player or in the video description if you want to skip ahead. Right, so I never really liked Lumion before because it lacked on the customization side. You usually ended up with a Lumion-like render that didn't have much identity. Oftentimes, people would use Lumion as a batch renderer and output a bunch of images without even thinking about if that was actually needed. So I think Lumion got that bad stigma, right? Well, there were a lot of new features and improvements over these past years that started to make Lumion a powerful render, and I've come to see it with good eyes with these newer versions. Now, I think Lumion has only started to be a viable rendering option once the Lumion Live Sync was created. Before, you had to import your finished model into Lumion to then start setting up the render and only then working on the finished product. And that's a big no-no for me when it comes to design and image creation workflow. You need to be able to go back and forth testing out and creating renderings during the whole design process. This live sync option exists for many software already, like SketchUp, ArchiCAD, and many others. Okay, so Lumion being a viable option now because I want to use it as a render engine instead of a standalone type of software, which is how they usually advertise it. So Lumion being a viable option, I want to point out what I think are the good things and the bad things and how you can overcome the bad things if you decide to use Lumion as part of your workflow. So the good thing. The learning curve is smooth, you don't really need a manual or a guide to start using it. It's almost like you're playing a video game. The material library is huge. Well, and I say this both as a good thing and a bad thing, because if you only use the materials available, you might get that default look that I was talking about. And then what's the most powerful feature in my opinion is the vegetation. Personally, over the years, what I think I've spent more time in image creation was the vegetation. It takes a long time to do it in Photoshop, and there aren't many good free trees and plants models out there to use directly in your 3D. So Lumion's vegetation library is beyond incredible. You can get really fantastic results with little effort. And speaking of little effort, since this is a real-time render engine, the render time is much shorter than other types of renderers. You shouldn't consider the modeling screen as the final result. It gets much better than this. Now, the render time leads me to the bad things about this software. It demands a powerful machine. Usually a laptop with an OK specs handle all architecture needs decently. But for Lumion, you need a strong graphics card and lots of RAM. So the entry barrier is high. And secondly, I don't know why they haven't improved this yet, but you cannot render other aspect ratios. You're limited to the 16:9 format, which is just absurd thinking about what are the main media platforms today. Rendering a square or vertical image is essential to play the Instagram game and get your projects out there. Yeah, you can crop the image afterwards in Photoshop, but it makes the whole creation and composition process much more fluidly if you could see what's going to be in frame or out of it. Come on Lumion, this had to be a feature on this version 11. Now, another bad thing that goes on the line of what I mentioned earlier, most likely your renders will look similar to someone else's. The settings are ready to go. It's a pick, choose and apply type of software. Therefore, most people can get great results quickly. So my suggestion is to go through a post-production step afterwards, go through Photoshop and don't let Lumion decide all the settings and corrections for you. And most importantly, don't add people directly on it. They give that amateur, almost game-like look to your images. I'm just not a big fan of it. Now, I'm not an expert on Lumion, but I tend to look at software simply as a tool to achieve a particular result, showcase the project, and transmit a mood to the viewer. So this is how I look at Lumion, and that's why I think it's starting to make sense to use it. Now let's talk about the new features that Lumion 11 has. And to be honest, the changes are not that big. It has new materials, new models, and new things. You can check all of that on the website. But there's one thing that's new that really changes the game. And that is orthographic view. We can finally create diagrams in Lumion. Well, not only diagrams, but images of plans, sections and elevations, and a bunch of drawings. I'm really looking forward to test this feature even more. We can definitely create amazing things with this. So yeah, the changes are not that explicit, with the exception of the orthographic view, which in my opinion is a big new feature. Alright, so this was a short video to bring up Lumion into conversation on this channel. I really want to hear from you guys. Do you agree with what I just said? Are there any other comments you would add to this? Also, would you guys be interested in Lumion videos? I mean, obviously not using only it, but as part of a workflow. I know that not everyone has access to Lumion or a powerful computer to handle it. Mine goes slightly above recommended, but I thought it would be interesting to bring this to this channel. Anyways, I know that most people don't usually stick to the end of the video, so if you're here, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!